Viewer discretion contains true crime content that may be disturbing, intended for educational purposes, not suitable for all audiences.
Imagine finding this under your home.
Not just any tunnels, the fraternities tunnels, the sororities tunnels. We're going to delve deep again. We're also going to delve into this Canadian Washington tunnel. After it got busted, it led to the arrest of a Post Falls, Idaho woman. Go figure. And the intrigue doesn't stop there. This house bears an eerie resemblance to an infamous murder house. Talking about King Road, we're talking about University Heights, an irregular plot of land that used to be owned by this Latah guy. Irregular plots can have weird shapes and angles, and yeah, it can totally include stuff like being next to a railway, or an old sewer pipe underneath it. Things like a trunk pipe. Trunk sewage lines are the main arteries of a city's sewage system. Large pipes that once carried waste from smaller branch lines, the lateral lines, to treatment plants. They are underground tunnels, often large enough for multiple people to move through. Due to modern advancement in waste management, many of these systems have been decommissioned and left abandoned, making them a network of hidden passages beneath our feet. Their significance for travel lies in their discreteness and extensive reach, connecting different parts of the city beneath the surface. But guess what? I've uncovered the abandoned trunk sewage lines, and they're right under King Road. That's right, that road that's become synonymous with mystery and horror. Not just any road, but the chilling site of an infamous quadruple murder. A grim puzzle that remains unsolved to this day. The significance of this revelation could be immense or could mean nothing. But as King Road is now shrouded in the enigma, do its secrets stretch beyond the unsolved homicides? The travel methods of the perpetrator, the leaked surveillance footage, and the inexplicable locations of some of the victims. These have all sparked a multitude of questions. The presence of this hidden passage beneath the very epicenter of those mysteries may well hold the key. Either way, it's unlocked a narrative that some want to shut down and debunk, so we're gonna unbunk the debunk. We're gonna do that right from the county assessor's office.
Last major cities on the East Coast to get a proper sewage system.
Honey dippers, as they call them, who would come around and essentially clean those out and haul that off.
Those people feared a sewer would take their jobs. But a new system came 2 years after a huge fire in 1904 demolished the city, paving its way. Right in the heart of the city, a 6.5-foot tall trunk pipe was put in, where smaller lines connected to head through the pipe to a sewer treatment plant. It spans about 5 city blocks.
And these are made of brick by brick, brick and mortar. So you had a circle that was formed of brick and mortar.
Serving as a swift and covert method to avoid that university contract with police, valued at $1.5 million alongside their hybrid campus officers, a thorn in the side for local fraternities and sororities, surely. See right here where King Road is placed on the plat records, and it is right in between 5 and 6. King Road used to be in a slightly different spot, or Taylor Road, used to be in a kind of different spot because this used to represent the middle line on manhole 1. And we can see that manhole 2 is right here on King Place, as is mentioned in this map. Manhole number 3 belongs somewhere around about section 6. Trunk sewage lines can get significantly large. As you can see, there is a 5 foot on each side of the road, as well as if you go with our most standard roads that are 2 lanes in America are like 12 feet. So yeah, around about a 25 foot easement, 22 some odd foot easement that is there for 5 foot on each side, and then about 12 feet for a 2-lane highway. We could say somewhere in between 25 foot easement required for the maintenance of this trunk sewage system. And you can almost see it in places.
Of these unconventional land acquisitions, such as this specific property, involves shared easements documented in the land records and the presence of communal retaining walls. Interestingly, a pump house was installed on the Sigma Chi property in 2021. In the summer of 2022, road construction, either just before or concurrent with new residents moving into their home a few doors down, closure and diversion of Taylor Street. Moreover, numerous inconsistencies can be found in the textual data of the legal survey pertaining to land descriptions across various documents over several years. On examining the city map, it's evident that the properties now form a tilted line. This likely explains why numerous manholes are found in yards. This specific area appears to host one of the retaining walls, which also accommodates a section of the trunk sewage. The location of the manhole entrance and the points where the lateral, or smaller, lines connect to it can be identified. Conveniently, this is located just down the road from manhole, right behind the King Road residence on Walenta. Interestingly, this manhole is located within a yard.
very evident to the university. One of the lawyers, now being retained by family members, actually communicated with the university. How do we know that? Because now a source connected to the university has given us the response, how the university responded to the family members through their lawyer, through their attorney. And what they wanted is not maybe necessarily what they're going to get. Not all the family members are on the same page, but the bulk of them, most of them are. They want preservation of evidence. They want the jury to be able to go on a go-see to this house if they so desire. One of the family members saw what happened in the Murdaugh case, followed the Murdaugh case, saw the jury go-see, and then more importantly, saw the conviction and thought, well, what bodes well down in South Carolina might bode well here in Idaho. Now the university has officially responded. And you might remember that the university just on March 24th sent all the family members a very kind letter with condolences and respect, letting them know the plan for the house. And that was back in March, okay? The plan then was, we plan to bring the house down likely by the end of semester. Please let us know if there's anything still inside the house you'd like us to get, barring any biohazards. We want to reunify you with your children's belongings. We're also going to clear many of those belongings out, bring them to a warehouse you can come and you can pick them up. That's post the original clearing of the house. Originally, items brought out, put into a U-Haul. Those were picked up by some family members. These are what's left in the house. Okay, that was the original letter. Now, this was the tone back then. It's my hope that the university's plan to remove the house helps in your healing. That's not how they felt. Many of the family members said no and sent an official request to the university saying, please keep it standing. So tonight I want to read you the entire text of what the university responded with, how they sent out a communique to the lawyer representing some of the family members. Okay, it says, thank you for your email and request for a meeting with myself and President Green. At this juncture, I intend to keep our communications at the level of correspondence between counsel. That means I won't meet with you. We're just going to speak lawyer to lawyer. I do want to inform you that I have determined to directly request from prosecution and defense counsel a formal indication whether they have any objection to demolition of the property as planned by the university. If there is any objection, I will ask that the issue be brought to the presiding judge for a determination whether the university should be stayed from demolition, and if so, whether the house should be placed back under the jurisdiction and protection of law enforcement. It's signed sincerely, K.N., and that's Kent Nelson, who is the acting general counsel for the University of Idaho. So, I mean, that's pretty direct, right? No, we're sorry for your loss, our condolences. Now it's just, hey, you've requested apparently a meeting. The university saying, we're not going to do a meeting with your counsel or at least with any family members that we know of. We're just going to communicate this way. And the way the university sees it, their next move now is to go directly to the prosecutors and directly to the defense and ask them if they have problems with a demolition of the house. And if either of those two parties brings up a problem, then the university says they will request that the judge be the arbiter. In all of this, a very unusual way. I don't really know where judges would come in on this. It's clearly there's a concern of the victims' family members that's evident in how they've responded here. So anyway, as we said, the house still stands boarded up.
Whispered rumors at many universities tell secrets of tunnels below the fraternity and sorority houses. A tale of hidden connections and a labyrinth of tunnels secretly linking them all. In the early days of Columbus, a prominent developer and landowner named William Neal embarked on an ambitious project. In 1856, he constructed a grand brick mansion atop a hill. intended as a home for his eldest son, Robert. This imposing house would eventually become Kappa Sigma Fraternity House. Some speculate that the site of the house was formerly on an Indian mound, given the numerous Native American artifacts that was discovered during its construction. William Neal was a man of considerable influence. He could make it rain in Columbus. Owning vast tracts of land in the vicinity, his commitment to the city's development was further proven when he generously donated 300 acres of his land for the establishment of an institution that would grow to a beacon of knowledge and progress, the Ohio State University. Neal's contributions continue to echo through the city's history. On one crisp fall afternoon in 1932, an unexpected visitor arrived at the door of Ohio State University's Kappa Sigma Fraternity House. A young pledge, Bob Thomas, opened the door to find an elderly man standing there carrying with him a story that would forever change the house's history. The man requested to see the basement, a request that obviously seemed strange, but the reason, he'd been hidden in that very basement around 70 years prior, during his perilous journey as a runaway slave. The fraternity house, it turns out, was part of a network of secret passageways known as the Underground Railroad. A tunnel now sealed off was said to have run from the basement of Kappa Sigma House. It connected to a section under the Pi Beta Phi House, then kept going all the way to the river. The river was often a commonly traveled path for runaway slaves as it provided a direct route north, and the water helped mask their scent from bloodhounds that might have been tracking them. Back in 2019, there was an article about Swarthmore fraternities getting disbanded after a 117-page document included quote-unquote meeting minutes and details of pledging rituals from 2012 to 16. They feature racist, misogynistic, and homophobic language and accounts of physical and sexual assaults and bravado about buying date rape drugs. The report alleges the minutes also allege Delta Epsilon have both a rape tunnel and a rape attic. Allegations of sexual assault, violence, and harassment have also been shared by students on an anonymous Tumblr page named Why Swarthmore Fraternities Must Go. But it doesn't really detail any more about this tunnel, which is super freaking weird. It also says that the archive also included a reference to another fraternity's rape attic and rape tunnel. But that fraternity, which was Delta Epsilon, denied that such things ever existed and called the term a sorry attempt at humor by a member of the Swarthmore Greek organization. Sure, buddy. Now, the university beneath Puget Sound in the Seattle metropolitan area, on the pugetsound.edu website, I'll link that in the description video. It says, quote, this was back in 2016 when she wrote this. In the spring of 1962, Puget Sound began construction on the present-day fraternity houses on Union Avenue. Located to the west of the main campus, along with the new men's housing, an underground dining experience connected each of the new fraternity buildings, unquote. So the construction of these fraternity houses in the 1960s led to this underground kitchen. It says that the units were occupied by 5 fraternities: Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Sigma Nu, Sigma Chi, and Phi Delta Theta, and Kappa Sigma. The dedication was sponsored by the Interfraternity Council, wrote the Tacoma News Tribune. Each house was built with a passage to a tunnel. You heard that right. It says, quote, the kitchen can boast of its complete modern air, which can efficiently and effectively serve 200 men, unquote. The article goes on to talk about an interview with one of the alumni who had received her bachelor's degree there, and she recalled her experiences in the Greek tunnels. And it says, quote, so basically I was a little sister at a fraternity called Sigma Chi fraternity, and I would go over and have breakfast with the guys. Like if there was a function on Friday night, I would go over Saturday morning and have breakfast with the guys down in the tunnels. And sometimes the little sisters would come over and help the guys clean up after the parties. And then occasionally, my memory isn't super sharp on this, but I remember walking over to the SAE, which is Sigma Alpha Epsilon house in the tunnels underneath, and I knew a couple of guys in the house, and I would sometimes have breakfast or lunch over there with them, unquote. It says that she was a transfer student from the University of California, and that she was a member of Pi Beta Phi. It says, quote, I went in multiple times. I honestly can't remember how many times I went there. I was friends with some of the guys in the house, and I went to some of their dances and stuff. It goes on to say that all of her memories of the tunnels were fond ones, and, quote, we went down this little hallway through Sigma Chi to get to the tunnel. And it's just a tunnel. There's no windows or anything, obviously. So it's a pretty closed in. I'm sorry. So it was pretty closed in. But the food was good. And we just all sat. There was one big long table for the fraternity to eat at. And we just all sat together at the table. And it was kind of nice. Kind of a family feel, she said. Unquote. Unquote, she said. You know what I mean. It is said that the tunnels caused a feeling of divide on campus, she goes on to write in the article. It also goes on to say that the girl she interviewed never felt that way, though. Well, of course you didn't, because you were invited into the tunnels. Surprise, surprise. It says, quote, the rumored impressions of separation within the campus was not personally felt by her. However, she said, quote, I don't remember being that feeling at all, but it might be because I was in the Greek system. The other thing is I did transfer there my junior year, so it's not like I was there all 4 years like other people were, but I don't remember it feeling like that. But you wouldn't remember that because you were invited in the tunnels. Okay, it says, quote, basement kitchen operations discontinued around 1999 for Union Avenue occupants when those houses were comprehensively renovated. The kitchen services in the tunnel were no longer needed as the university expanded and gave dining services to everyone. Wow, what? And the article kind of ends by saying, quote, when asked if she thought the tunnels should be reopened for use, the girl replied, quote, I think my answer to that would be probably no, because I can't imagine that they would be structurally sound after all these years, but I guess if they're safe, then I would say sure, that would be fine. But if not, I would say no, they probably shouldn't reopen them, unquote. So, as you can see, by this National Register of Historic Places, it said at the time of the publication that there were 19 sororities, or 19 fraternities, and sororities maintaining the houses in traditional Greek areas to the east of the campus along Deacon and Elm, between Sweet and 6th. Several others have newer houses along Nez Perce to the south of campus in the Greek area, developed by the university in the late 1950s. So it alleges that the university created University Heights. Now, I found this document from the 50s, and essentially it's an agreement between the University of Idaho and University Heights, Inc., and it amends a previous agreement. It states that any land the University of Idaho buys from University Heights, Inc. will not be subject to previously agreed upon restrictions. These restrictions, also known as restricted covenants, did I say that right? Restrictive covenants, sorry, are rules that govern how the property can be used and what can be built on it. In this case, University Heights, Inc. is giving up or waiving these covenants for the University of Idaho. It mentions that the University of Idaho is not likely to use the land for residential purposes, which could be one of the restrictions in the original agreement. It also seems to be waiving a mining fee. A mining waiver maintenance fee is an annual fee that miners or mining companies have to pay to maintain their claims on certain pieces of land. This fee is required by the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, in the United States, of course. However, small miners with fewer than 10 claims can apply for a waiver from this fee. The waiver is granted, and they're exempted from paying the mining fees or doing certain assessment work, whatever. The application for this has to be filed each year with the BLM. This system's designed to ensure that active mining claims are actually active and developed rather than being held without any actual work being done on them. So here's the previous mining activity, guys. Activities that could surely involve the creation of tunnels and typically do involve the creation of tunnels. This is outside of the abandoned trunk line, which I think is honestly the main form of travel here. But Lord knows what they're connected to, being that there's a bunch of mining that we don't know about, being that the university has most of the historical records. If they don't want us to know, well, good luck. But oh wait, we know. We just don't have a map. Oh wait, what? We have the directions to a map, but we have to draw it? Oh fuck.
A hidden tunnel built over a century ago, discovered in perfect condition. Homeowners Gary and Beth Mogen made the discovery of an entrance to a 19th century tunnel when their sidewalk in Alton, Illinois started to buckle, uncovered for the first time since 1895.
There's the opening we have to shimmy into.
Inside, the tunnel has a grand brick archway.
In an unconventional procedure, the crime scene's boundaries were mysteriously extended. Fresh gravel was poured around the slope and backyard, significantly altering the landscape. Within the house, the kitchen shelves were ripped out, a change that was clearly captured in the video and pictures. The prosecution team made it clear that they had taken extensive measures in their investigations. The house, they claimed, no longer resembled its former self. So much so they deemed it too dangerous for anyone, including the jury, to do walkthroughs. Sections of the floor and walls had to be replaced, thus transforming the crime scene. In an unprecedented move, making true crime history by taking upon themselves the task of packing up the crime scene. The Moscow Police Department made a cryptic statement. "We don't know if one of the victims was targeted. We believe the house was targeted." However, the specifics of this targeted attack were not shared, leaving many questions unanswered. Despite these unorthodox circumstances, and the county's stance that such protection is unnecessary, the university continues to fund 24-hour security at the house. As this case continues to evolve, it leaves observers with more questions than answers.
About King Place, right? Because technically the road name is called King Place. I'm not sure. It's just one of those things, I guess, where everyone calls it King Road. Sometimes it's even written King Road. But on the actual plat record, it's not. It's King Place. And like I said, these holes are not actually closed up. So we can actually see manhole number 1 at the intersection of the center line, Taylor Avenue and King Place. Then we're going to go south along the center line of King Place for 160 feet to manhole 2. Then southward 172 feet to a point 5 feet west of southwest corner of Lot 6, Block 1. Now, King Road is located both on Lot 5 as well as Lot 6, as you can see in its legal description, otherwise known as the text that the surveyor writes and is recorded in the county assessor's office. They were terrified of nukes just like the rest of America. The United States government is handing out PDFs during this time to explain to everyone, hey, it's just a backyard project, no big deal. You could build a fallout shelter for you and your family. And I highly doubt that Sigma Chi was scruffing it in some old little dump. I'm sure they, like other elites at the time, were showing off their fancy fallouts. Your fallout shelter is quite fancier than ours. Sigma Chi is a fraternity who's known for their basement parties. You can find memes about it. When the Sigma Chi boys, blah blah blah, basement party, something something. This network's an undercurrent of the university life. Initially assumed that the fraternity would need to connect with the existing sewage system to access the historical tunnel network, but it turns out that their manholes are not all closed. And that old Linda Lane over here gets a little scoop-a-doop from old manhole covers as well. That's right. Is that what is linking these two? Is that why that footage is useful? Maybe the cars aren't even related, or are the cars just where they went when they came out? I guess it could be influential to not be anywhere near the house whenever you come out. I did happen to notice that even Ashley Banfield noted that the boys who came out of that one area were in single file, as she said. Is it possible that they came out of their half a manhole that's right there in front of the house? Because all of the lines would be abandoned and dry. And this hole ain't exactly looking closed. Those abandoned lines actually connect King Road and Linda Lane, which is an interesting connection indeed. And at first I made the mistake of thinking they would need to tap these networks because of a lot of the historical tunnels that are built from like early 1900s are filled in, and a lot of the holes or manholes are closed up, except for in certain special areas. It appears that many of these manholes, well, they're still around. Some of them are rather blatant. If you have a lot of money to delve into property in the area and you make sure you get the right strategic spots, you'd have yourself some extra square footage down there now, wouldn't you? And guess what? That's not even really an illegal use of the area, right? Tunnels aren't illegal. It's illegal to do illicit shit in the tunnels, not just to have the tunnel. So boom, You buy some land, it happens to have a tunnel beneath it, score. And honestly, I don't even think it took these records to really make one see the possibilities that this could be going on, because A, there are plentiful stories about not just a fraternity having such a thing, but Sigma Chi and other chapters at other universities having tunnels that connect two houses down the street or houses down the road. Or that's the same thing. I knew that. I was just checking to make sure you guys knew that. That coupled with the fact that this is the gem state, you guys. Idaho has the richest mining history ever. Tunnels that have undisclosed openings, and telling the public that an undisclosed basement may look here is too much for them. No wonder they can't get Bryan Kohberger reasonable doubt, because theories are too much. But it is a kind of a prime example of how they remain under the radar, even as this gem state known for having illicit tunnels.